Yes, Lagos. It is 15. Well, now it is 16 minutes, goodness five, and you're tuned in to Business Hub here on Smooth 98.1. Today on Business Hub, we will be discussing oil and gas firms in Nigeria and looking at, well, paying attention more to the environment. Don't they? Hmm. We're asking some interesting questions and getting answers to such questions. And one thing I know that we'll be touching as well is if they actually care about, fossil fuel and, all those interesting questions that you've probably thought about climate change and all those interesting things. How does that even affect them? For us here in Nigeria. Well, joining me to shed more light on this is Tunbosun Afolayan. She's the managing director of Pro Ally, and Pro Ally is a sustainability communication consulting firm. Good evening. I'm glad to have you with me.
Same here,
Yeah,
Joy. Good evening and really pleasure to be here.
Lagos, as always, you get to join the conversation. And you're wondering how? Well, WhatsApp is always available. WhatsApp is the platform 0911 You get to share your thoughts, questions that you might have, contributions. Very welcome. And talking about fossil fuel and all that, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this conversation. Is environmental sustainability possible in a fossil fuel nation? Is that actually possible?
I think I don't even think. I know yes, it is possible.
Okay.
Because we definitely live in a very balanced, managed transition where everybody agrees that oil and gas is here
Mm,
to stay, but also everybody agrees that it must be produced sustainably. So, because we live in a managed and a balanced transition state, it is definitely possible. Countries that rely on oil and gas for sure can stop routine gas flaring. They can stop methane link. These are the quickest wins. And organizations in Nigeria and in Africa and across the
mm.
world are already doing that. Again, Nigeria has also chimed, we're using gas as a transition fuel. So
Right.
that's environmental sustainability somewhat, right? Because we can definitely produce gas in a more sustainable way than oil. And there is a lot of potential when it comes to flare reduction, when it comes to gas monetization. So it's really possible. The third thing I'll probably say around there is we can also use it as a revenue generation opportunity. Environmental
Right.
sustainability also brings that to the table because then you then have opportunity to also pursue renewables where everybody think, okay, it's solar, it's hydro, it's all of those things. So, and finally on this one, I think the Nigerian transition plan also explicitly says that we are transitioning while developing. So it's
Okay.
possible we are going to be developing for sure towards a
Right.
net zero by 2060, or maybe
Mm,
towards a reduced dependency on oil, but for
mm.
sure it is possible.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Because some school of thought is of the opinion that it's not going anywhere. We're stuck with what we have. But I'm glad to hear that things are possible. Looking forward to we've been complaining about climate change and how things can actually change for the better. So, hey, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So, now that we know that is possible, right? My question is environmental sustainability possible in a nation that doesn't have stringent laws protecting the environment? You have that, but it's almost like those companies just get away with things.
I honestly, and I don't like the word honestly because it then means that I've been lying all through. I think
I know what you
I posit, I really posit that
mean. Okay.
it's not the lack of stringent laws that is the problem. I think
Mm,
it's enforcement. I think it's consequence management for defaulters that is the problem.
right.
So we do not lack stringent environmental laws. Now we actually even by a interesting orchestration of climate change, Now,
Okay.
the world and the oil and gas company definitely need to adhere by the rules of environmental laws because it has become a tool for financing. Yeah,
Okay.
so if you don't adhere to environmental law, if you don't adhere to climate change, if you don't adhere to, having ESG properly set up in your organization, you most likely would not be able to get the finance that you need. So it
Okay.
really has to be compensated with
Mm,
enforcement of these rules and also transparency in the process of enforcement. So
okay.
Nigeria has framework. I use that as an opening to say we really do have framework.
Okay.
I didn't say rules. I said we have frameworks. We
Frameworks.
have Climate Change Act. We have the NESRA Act. We have gas flaring, venting
Okay.
range. We have rules and we have frameworks.
Okay.
Are there infrastructures to ensure that this, in spite of our lack of enforcement, are there infrastructure to ensure adherence? We are
Okay.
getting there. It's a long journey because it's not going to start just because there is a climate change. It's going to start with the fundamental of energy poverty, energy availability. Yeah. So it's not the total absence of law. And the priorities really have to start from small scale emission to large scale emission. If you can curb oil spillage, then
Right.
that's environmental. If you can, if you can curb flooding, if you can curb things like marine life, if you can curb,
Oh,
just
yeah.
general disposal, natural disposal, people disposing their products
Wasting
properly,
into, yeah.
yeah, in the right places. And this is not limited to oil and gas. This is really
Okay.
more like it's more like a
Call to humanity.
commoditization. Yeah,
Yes.
it's more from a industrial perspective because
Okay.
everybody does have some waste that they do have. So, and that also applies to oil and gas. The waste, how are they managed when we have instances of spillage? How are they
Spillage.
curbed? When we have instances of flooding, how are they remediated? Those are the things that goes into countries like ours that currently have framework, but we don't have, very stringent, I'll say maybe very extremely strict laws to enforce it.
All right. I'm glad how you put it. We don't have stringent laws, but we have things in place that can actually help.
Yeah.
Um, you know, just fact and hopefully we'll work with what we have and perfect it as we journey along. And that's one thing I want us to do too. I'm praying we get there, perfect things like this. So um, it's still a work in progress.
Keep hope alive.
That we will keep alive. However, talking about keeping hope alive, back in June, right, I know the Lagos state government announced that anyone caught dumping refuse illegally or littering public spaces will pay a fine of 250,000 naira or spend up to 3 months in prison. And I know that the state commissioner for environment and water works, Mr. Tokumo Wahab, made that announcement. But my question is, for those are for individuals, right? I don't recall what it is for corporations. So what will an energy corporation care about, or why would they even care about the environment, since they are not, in quote, they're not the ones that you're saying will have to face the fine or go through all this. So they're absorbed in a way. It's only the individuals.
So that's, but your first question was really, and I kind of opened with that, not, it's actually a bigger issue for companies, oil and gas companies to care. Their license to operate is threatened because now regulators have tied licenses to emissions management, ESG compliance, regulatory compliance, NUPRC that actually regulates upstream development and production actually have a decarbonization template and a methane rule. And this can be measured. So it makes it even more importantly difficult for oil and gas to float such rules. And more often than not, these companies do not. At least they make a lot of attempts with the right infrastructure in place to do that. So their
Mm,
license to operate is threatened if they don't care. Secondly is kind of related to license to operate, but that's a bit national. When we go in the
Okay.
large scale, we're then talking capital access and even insurance for your operations. So bank and insurance are very clear on
Ah,
emissions, on spill risk. Like, I need to see your scores. I need to see your sustainability report. I need to see what
okay.
you do year in, year out. I need to know your cost of capital. I mean, you know that if you have what's the word now, excessive illegal dumping, flood issues,
Nobody will want to
um
touch you.
yes, nobody wants to touch you, nobody wants to fund you.
No.
So yeah, it's the law is kind of there for them from a
Okay.
national and from a international perspective, and definitely there's revenue loss. If you're flaring gas, yeah, that's money. You could as well
Hmm.
just that's money. So there's a lot of revenue loss for even them if they are not, deliberately and intentionally ensuring that things that can be easily flared like gas is captured, methane is used. I mean, there are a lot of CPG and LPG vehicles in Nigeria now. You can definitely
Mm-hmm.
sell that. Yeah. So it's more riskier for even the organization, and this is why they care. And I think it's like they care and they should care even more. The fourth one is more people oriented, and that's the community risk. So when you
Okay.
work, when you come to my local government or my house and you make a mess of it, natural consequence happens. Protest, shutdown, court actions,
Right.
and these are
Right.
even costlier than compliance. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Why
they're
would you put
way.
yourself in such a space when you know
Exactly. So
you
why
could
would
just
yeah, that's the right word. Why would you put yourself in such a situation? So energy firms are regulated by capital market now. They are regulated by global buyers. They are regulated in-house by NUPRC. So their
mm,
ignoring is actually very costly for them.
okay. Hmm. All right. That is interesting. And I'm glad to hear that. Okay. If you thought that it was only or that Lagos State is only focusing on the individuals, come correct. They also have laws. Well, it's not just Lagos State. There are federal laws that also, govern uh, such corporations. So they also need to abide by the environment, by the laws, and know what it is they need to do to make sure that the environments are safe for the
Absolutely.
individuals within such communities.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm grateful for that you also raised regarding gas flaring is how if you're wasting it, that's really
Funny
ridiculous.
enough.
It's
Yeah.
money you're losing. There's some communities that were talking about how the soothe was affecting them and all whatnots, but hey, glad glad for the things that we are able to curb. But something that is also of importance is um, you know, communication. So my question is, what does an effective communication strategy on sustainability look like?
And thanks for asking that question. That's like yin and yang to what we do at ProAllies. So it's important that, that context is also shared. An
Right.
effective communication plan is not as important as a strategic communication plan. So effective is that I can speak to you, you can understand, even though you don't understand the bigger scope. But strategic is that you understand the bigger scope. I'm able to communicate to you, and everyone and all the other stakeholders kind of can tie in into what we are saying, right? So when it comes to sustainability communications, what is important is the three P elements, and it is the people, it is the planet, and it is the profit. So it is organizations keying in to their ambassadors, their internal ambassadors first, to understand the full scope and the business scope of what they are doing. This is why we're in business. This is what we're
Right.
doing. This is how money is made. This is how money is lost. This is the consequence of what we've discussed, environmental, non-compliance. This is how your work affects the environment, our profits, etc. And
Mhm.
then you then go to the planet. When we make such mistakes, these are the possible issues. When there is
Right.
flooding, these are the possible issues. When there is spillage, these are the
These
possible
are
issues.
things, yeah.
Livelihoods are lost, etc. And then you
Right.
then come to profit. We live in a capitalist world, and the world really trades on capitalism. Is it good or bad? Is not is out of this conversation. But the world is capitalist. because we have to trade, there's a form of exchange. So if we
Yeah.
have a crude or we have oil and gas
Oil and gas,
based in
whatever it is.
Nigeria, then we have an opportunity to also be capitalists somewhat and improve our own life and improve our own development because we then get exchange, commercial exchange, value exchange to, develop our country. So it's in those three P's that the whole idea of sustainability communications also lie in, is ensuring that all your stakeholders are clear, starting from your internal, they understand the bigger scope of what you're doing, how it affects them, understanding things like gas monetization, flare
Hmm.
reduction, ESG. They need to have a balanced narrative, balanced. I say let's put in some gender narrative here, balanced gender, balanced gender narrative.
Okay.
Good working environment, why you come to work, why you must be safe, why everybody must return home safely, and at
Right.
the end of the day, how we make material impact in our own social economic development.
Mm, very well said. Lagos, I'm sure you have your thoughts. Would you like to share them? WhatsApp is the platform to do that. 0911 That is the number you can share your thoughts on. However, we need to take a quick breather. When we get back, I want to know, communication is one thing. Another thing is action. Are we seeing enough action where environmental sustainability is concerned? We'll get into all that and more because we'll be talking more about something I like to talk about, climate change. But let's take this quick breathe, Lagos. On the other side, we definitely will continue the conversation here on Smooth 98.1. Just a quick, just under a minute and we're back in.
Range of products like television, air conditioners, refrigerators, washing machines, mobile phones, and lots more. Hurry! Visit any of our Sims Digital Centers at Cassie Street, Alausa, Allen, Ikeja City Mall, Omole, Umba, Apple Junction, Aguda, Surulere, Victoria Island, and Aja. For more details, call 9010376670 or 7000307467 or visit www.simsng.com. Terms and conditions apply. Samsung Sims Partnership, celebrating Africa's longest running Samsung relationship.
Did you know that the highway code has rules about reversing? Before you reverse, you should make sure that there are no pedestrians, particularly children or physically challenged persons, physical obstructions on the road behind you. Otherwise, don't. Driving Lagos. Simple rules for driving safely around Lagos.
This is Lagos.
Yes, Lagos, welcome back to the second half of Business Hub here on Smooth 98.1. And today, like I said, we've been talking about oil and gas and the attention that they've been paying to environment. Do they even mind it? Well, my guest in the person of Tunbosun Afolayan is the managing director of Pro Ally, and Pro Ally is a sustainability communication consulting firm. She's been, giving insights as to it's not just from her perspective, what other things you don't even realize is being done in the background. And it is such great insight. So as always, to be a part of Business Hub, what you can do is share your thoughts with me on WhatsApp, 0911 and we'll love to get your contributions in. Talking about contributions, I did ask a question earlier, and this has to do with, yes, we know the communication is key. It's one thing, but They say you need to put your mouth, you need to put
Money where your
money
mouth
where your
is.
mouth is. So, yes,
Or your
action
mouth
now
where
is
your
an
money is. Which one?
your money where your mouth is, actually. So now that we know where we need to put things, will I say that is the action also in tandem? Is it the same as communicate? We say things, but it always feels like we say these things, but we don't see the action following suit, and makes me wonder where are we
Action.
missing it?
I think there is action. And
Okay,
today is second. So let's talk about the most recent action. So yesterday,
good.
the NUPRC that regulates upstream development announced that we have recorded reduced gas flaring. And I read from the
Awesome.
site, and it says that we have recorded a major breakthrough as daily production is increasing. So even though we are increasing our gas production, our gas flaring is at its lowest in 3 years at 7.16%. And this is
Okay.
according to the NUPRC. Right. If you take 1 year back, we were actually going beyond the curve when it comes to flaring. So having us September 2nd being able to say our production is increasing and the gas flaring is reducing, I think that's action. And you
Okay.
can already tell the pointers that led to this. There's been a lot of indigenization of Nigerian companies
Mm,
or of international companies. Maybe the stakeholders now are getting to be a part of the ecosystem and understand that this is our own thing, right? And everybody is coming more to the table with equity when it comes to sustainability communications and tying it to, at the end of the day, the business bottom line.
okay.
We also, over the years, have enacted programs like the Nigerian Gas Flare Commercialization Program. So
Mm,
instead of flaring, I'm giving you opportunities to make money. So gases that should have been flared now can be monetized. We also have a decarbonization and sustainability blueprint for the nation. That itself is also setting the framework of how we can reduce waste, and gas being just one of the waste. There are other wastes that are now being converted. There are a lot of energy firms that have different projects, initiative to convert waste to wealth, the common frame that we use. Then there's also carbon capture and storage initiative that is, being systemized in Nigeria for a
right.
country that has a lot of underground storage. That also needs to be established if there is a potential for that. And then
Okay.
we also then have the upstream petroleum decarbonization templates. That's four big
That's
things that, kind of
what
can we
that
can
shows that
equate
there's
to
action
action,
to it.
yes, to where we are
Mm.
at. So definitely there are some action and they are tangible. If our flares are reducing, then that's really tangible.
I like that. So it's not just all word of mouth. They're
Mm-mm.
putting their monies to, to show that, okay, we're not just making mouth, we're doing the things that, that we say we're doing. And I'm happy about that. Trust me, I'm really excited to hear that our gas flaring is on the downward. And it's not just wasting, because that's money just going away.
Yep.
Oh, now the elephant in the room is climate change. We've been talking about climate change for I don't know how long now, but in your view, I want to know, is climate change talked about enough among average Nigerians where this, energy corporations are concerned, or are we even talking enough about it? Do we even understand the impact of climate change?
Okay. So talking about it is different from understanding the impact. I think everybody
Okay.
can somewhat say, I feel I know what the impact is because I can feel it. Oh, there is Harmattan in strange months. It's cold in strange months. It's hot, strange months, and it's flooded when it shouldn't be. So, yeah,
Right.
you would actually be
Under the
not
rock.
alive. You actually be not alive to say that, oh,
Okay.
I am not feeling something different around the climate. But is it being talked about enough among Nigerians? I think Nigerians have a different set of priority. And this is why a company like ProAllied is also very, very positioned to help with that understanding and change the narrative, both from the energy perspective to the people perspective.
Okay.
People feel power, food flooding. Like you feel that in your daily life, right? And that's climate change. Is it talked about? Maybe not as much. Maybe we still need a lot of awareness. Maybe we still need a lot of education. Definitely, we still need, not maybe, we still need a lot of awareness and education and a lot of socializing. And this is why one of our own core functions at Prala is to socialize energy, is to make energy a part of our daily life. Like you can feel it, you know the impact of energy when it's there, when it's not there. So Nigerians, in terms of priority, are not talking about it enough, but are they feeling it? I think yes. But it's from a context of definitely lights needs to be more reliable. It needs to be cheaper. If it is cheaper and more reliable, then we can have that conversation around, okay, there's climate change, but we are producing better, we are producing more sustainably, and we are now able to not feel the effects of what should have been negative of climate change. There's also things around health issues. There's a state in Nigeria that had a suit over it. Port Harcourt suffered
Yes,
for
Port
suits for
Harcourt,
so
yes.
long. So
Honestly.
definitely, if there is cleaner hair, and everybody in the town knew that, or they could say, "Oh, this is very
Something
funny.
is
Why is this
wrong.
something is wrong, right?" So, and of course, the one we don't talk about a lot is generators. Like the fewer generator fumes that we have, the cleaner the air will be, right? And it does not have to be intense. Like you go around Lagos or any of the major cities, and you can definitely kind of feel the taste in your mouth. So that itself, when it's reduced, when there's more power and people don't have to use that, when the options are there for sustainably produced energy, we will talk about it even more. And income, um, the more we talk about it, the more we generate income for all the other potential opportunities and innovation that can happen when it comes to opportunities to reduce climate change effects. So we talk about clean cooking, we talked about waste to wealth, waste to energy, local
All right.
solar, hydro, there's so many things that people can move towards, or maybe even make their portfolio more robust as they're producing oil and gas. You can also explore opportunities for getting more income in renewable, training people. So we build local competencies, we build a more robust and a more resilient employed youth. So there's so many opportunity when we talk about it enough. But as it stands today, I this is what I think. The average Nigeria understands it. They felt it somewhat, but we're not talking about it enough. And that's
Enough
why ProAllied is here to talk
to
about it.
also do that. So as we wrap up, what's your outlook for sustainability in Nigeria?
It's that's a good question. I think I'll say let's look at it from two perspectives. I'll call it tailwinds and headwinds. Like, what are the opportunities here? We have the tailwinds, the energy transition plan, all the plans that I've been talking about, decarbonization, the methane rules, the CPGs, LPGs. But the headwind, which is the one that we need to really focus on, are the enforcements. That's where we started from. Is the
Yes.
financing, is producing opportunities for people to leverage on their understanding and build innovative system outside of what currently exists. It's reducing our flaring record. We can definitely balance oil and gas emissions for sure sharply. We already see that demonstrated, that even with increased oil and gas production, there is reduced flaring. But we also need to expand energy access. And energy access starts with awareness, it then moves to education, and it moves to tangibility, where people can really translate what I know
Seriously.
to what I can see and how it impacts my life. So we can definitely turn this enforcement and plans into numbers and into improved livelihood for Nigerians.
Thank you so much. That is an absolute beautiful conversation that we've had today. Ooh, I've learned a whole lot, trust me. I'm sure Lagos too has learned, things that they weren't sure of. But for anyone who's listening now that would like to collaborate with you, how can they reach out to you on your social media platforms?
Oh, definitely. It's proallyworld.com/energy stories, which is one of the newest initiative that we've just launched. The energy stories is really around awareness and building and bridging the gap between education, awareness, and action for sustainability communications. Also for organizations who are asking questions around how can I socialize my initiatives? How can I build better communications within and without for all my stakeholders? Then it's proallyworld.com. I'm also quite very active on LinkedIn. So my name is Tunbosun Afolayan. You can reach out to me or any member of the team of ProAlly who are attached to the ProAlly group, and we will be right there at your full step to support your journey.
Thank you so much, Lagos. Well, that's the much you can take today on Business Up. I'm sure that you know how now to reach out to Tunbosun if you actually need all the insights, especially where energy